The man who whispered in her ear on her wedding day, "Don't even think about divorce." Years later, he revealed his true colors in front of the entire family. So how did Lucia escape this nightmare and turn her life around? Lucy Martinez's white dress sparkled in the November sun on the steps of San Cristobal Church in the heart of Texas. Her hands trembled as she held the bouquet of lilies, not from excitement, but because something in Javier Mendoza's smile had made her blood run cold just minutes before. "Don't even think about asking for a divorce," he had whispered in her ear as they posed for photographs with that perfect smile that all the guests interpreted as a romantic joke. But Lucy had felt the pressure of his fingers on her waist, stronger than necessary, and had seen something dark flash in his eyes for a split second. The mariachis played La Llorona, while the guests threw rice and rose petals. Doña Carmen, Javier's mother, cried with happiness as she hugged her new daughter-in-law. "Oh, my daughter, how beautiful you look. My Javier has finally found a good woman." Lucy smiled and nodded, but her new husband's words continued to echo in her head like a funeral bell. They had been dating for 2 years. Javier worked as a supervisor at the silver mine in Valencia. He earned good money, and everyone in the damn neighborhood said that Lucy had landed a good catch. He was 28, she was 23, and when he asked for her hand in marriage in front of her whole family in the main square, she had thought he was the most romantic man in the world. But during their courtship, little things had begun to bother her. The way Javier always decided which restaurant to go to, which movie to see, what time to meet. When she suggested something different, he would look at her with that smile that didn't reach his eyes and say, "No, my love, let's do this other thing, trust me." And she, raised to be an obedient woman, always gave in. The reception was held in the Los Arcos ballroom, decorated with marigolds and gold and red confetti. The tables were laden with mole poblano, carnitas, and the tres leches cake that Aunt Esperanza had made. Javier danced with Lucy to Armando Manzanero's song, "Contigo Aprendí," while everyone applauded. "Are you happy, my love?" he asked her as they spun around the dance floor. "Yes," Lucy replied, although part of her was still thinking about those words whispered in the church. "Because now we are one, right? What is yours is mine, and what is mine is yours. And no one, absolutely no one, will ever separate us." The way he said it, with an intensity that bordered on obsession, sent a chill down Lucy's spine, but she was surrounded by music, laughter, and family members toasting to her happiness. She was probably imagining things. After midnight, when the last guests had left, Javier and Lucy collected the gifts and headed to their new home, a small 2-bedroom house in the Alamo Heights, which Javier had been paying for over 3 years. It was modest but pretty, with a backyard where she could already imagine planting roses and growing cilantro. "Welcome to your new home, Mrs. Mendoza," Javier said, carrying her over the threshold. While Lucy changed out of her wedding dress and into a white nightgown she had bought especially for that night, she heard Javier talking on the phone in the living room. "Yes, Mom. Everything went perfectly. No, don't worry. Lucy will quickly learn how I like things. Of course she'll stop working at the store. A wife should be at home." Lucy was stunned. Javier had never mentioned that she would have to quit her job at the Mariposa's boutique, where she sold clothes and accessories. On the contrary, he had always told her how much he admired her independence. When she came out of the bedroom, Javier had already hung up the phone and was waiting for her with a glass of champagne in each hand. "Here's to us," he said, raising his glass. "Javier," Lucy began cautiously, "I heard you tell your mom that I'm going to stop working." Javier's smile faded completely. "Of course you're going to stop working. Wives don't need to work when now you're mine, and things are going to be the way I say." When he uttered the word mine, something in Javier's eyes hardened in a way that made Lucy involuntarily recoil. That night, while Javier slept beside her, snoring softly, Lucy lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if the man she had just married was really the same man she had met 2 years earlier. Outside, the November wind rang the bells of San Cristobal Church, as if they were a warning that had come too late. The first months of marriage passed like a strange fog for Lucy. Every morning, Javier got up at 5:30, showered, ate the huevos rancheros she made him for breakfast, and left for the mine with a kiss on his forehead and a list of things he had to do during the day. Today, clean the living room windows thoroughly. They look dull, he would say as he adjusted his work shirt. And don't forget to iron my white shirts for tomorrow. I also need you to go to the market, but only to Doña Remedios's stall. Her vegetables are the best. Lucy nodded, mentally taking note of everything, and said goodbye from the door as she watched her husband walk away down the cobblestone street toward the bus stop. What struck her most was the silence. At her parents' house in the San Javier neighborhood, there was always noise. Her 3 younger brothers shouting, her mother's radio playing Jose's music, the neighbors chatting in the communal courtyard. But in this new house, the silence weighed on her like a heavy blanket. The first time Javier got really upset was on a Tuesday in February. Lucy had gone to the market as he had told her to, but Doña Remedios didn't have any fresh tomatoes, so she bought some at the stall next door. When Javier came home from work and saw the tomatoes in the kitchen, he smelled them and frowned. "These aren't from Doña Remedios," he said. "No, my love, she didn't have any." "Then didn't I specifically tell you to buy from Doña Remedios?" "Yes, but then why didn't you listen to me?" Javier's voice rose in volume, and Lucy felt something like fear fluttering in her stomach. "Javier, they're just tomatoes. They're fresh. I tasted them. And it's not about the damn tomatoes," he shouted, slamming his hand on the kitchen table. "It's about when I tell you something, you do it. Is that so hard to understand?" Lucy remained silent, watching the veins in her husband's neck stand out under his skin. She had never seen him like this, not once in the 2 years they had been together. "I'm sorry," she murmured. "You're right. Next time I'll wait until Doña Remedios has what we need." Javier took a deep breath, ran his hands through his hair, and suddenly his face changed completely. He was once again the sweet man she had known. "Oh, my love, forgive me. I'm just so tired from work. And when things aren't the way I need them to be, I get desperate." He approached her and hugged her. "Will you forgive me? I love you so much that I want everything to be perfect for us." Lucy nodded against his chest, but something inside her had broken a little. The following weeks brought more rules. Javier told her that the red lipstick she wore made her look like those women on the street. So Lucy put all her cosmetics away at the bottom of the drawer. He explained that low-cut blouses provoked other men, so she started wearing only button-up shirts. When Lucy wanted to visit her sister Patricia, who lived in Austin, Javier told her that long trips were dangerous for a woman alone and that he would miss her too much. "Why do you need to go far away when you have everything you need here?" he would say as he hugged her from behind. "I am your family now." Little by little, Lucy stopped wearing makeup altogether. She stopped wearing her favorite dresses. She stopped calling Patricia as often as before, because Javier always had something to say about long phone conversations. "What do women talk about so much?" he would ask with a smile that no longer seemed tender to her. "Don't they have more important things to do?" In April, Javier came home with a gift, a new pink cell phone with a case that had rhinestones on it. She couldn't download new apps. She couldn't delete her call history, and on the home screen there was an app called Safe Family, which she didn't remember seeing when Javier gave it to her. When she tapped on that app, a screen opened showing a map of Texas, and on the map there was a little pink dot flashing exactly where her house was located. Lucy felt her mouth go dry. She quickly closed the app, but the little pink dot remained there, blinking in the corner of the screen like an eye that never closed. The next day, when she went to the market, the little dot moved with her. When she visited her mother in the afternoon, the little dot went all the way to the San Javier neighborhood, and when she returned home, Javier was waiting for her in the living room with a strange smile. "How did it go with your mom?" he asked her. "Fine. We went to the market together and then nothing else." They didn't go anywhere else. Lucy froze. They had gone to the market, yes, but they had also stopped by the pharmacy, Don Sebastian's store, and had ice cream in the park. "Well, yes, we did." Javier interrupted Lucy as he approached her. "Why are you lying to me?" "I'm not lying to you, Javier. It's just that I know exactly where you went. I know you were at the pharmacy for 20 minutes, that you bought ice cream in the park, and that your mom walked you to the bus stop." Lucy's heart began to beat so hard that she thought it was going to jump out of her chest. "How do you know that?" Javier took out his own phone and showed her the screen. It was the same app, but from his perspective. He could see exactly where she had been all day, how long she had stayed in each place, and even the route she had taken to get home. "It's to take care of you, my love," he said with that smile that no longer reassured her at all. "To know that you're safe. There are many dangers on the street, and I need to be calm while I work." That night, Lucy realized that padlocks aren't always made of metal. Sometimes they're invisible and hurt much more. Summer arrived in Texas with a suffocating heat that seeped through every crack in the house. Lucy spent her afternoons watering the plants in the courtyard and obsessively cleaning every corner, because she had learned that when Javier came home from work and found something out of place, the atmosphere became tense and dangerous. She no longer remembered when she had stopped singing while doing the chores. Before, at her parents' house, she always hummed songs by Selena or Maná while sweeping or cooking. But now, silence was her constant companion, interrupted only by the ticking of the kitchen clock and the distant sound of children playing in the street. One afternoon in July, while folding clean clothes in the bedroom, she heard someone knocking on the door. Through the window, she saw her sister Patricia standing on the front step, carrying a basket of fruit and wearing a huge smile on her face. "Lucy, how are you, sister?" She hadn't seen Patricia in almost 3 months. Her sister looked tanned and happy. She was wearing a yellow dress that Lucy remembered admiring in a store downtown. "Patricia, what a surprise." Come in, come in. I came from Austin to take advantage of my day off. I brought you some mangoes, the kind you like so much, and some peaches that are delicious." They sat down in the small living room, and Patricia began to tell her about her new job at a shoe factory, about the boy who was courting her, about her plans to study accounting at night. "And how are you, sister? You look a little thin. Have you been eating well?" Lucy unconsciously touched her cheeks. She had lost weight in recent months, but she hadn't realized it was so noticeable. Yes, I'm fine. It's just that with this heat, I don't feel like eating much. And Javier, how are things going?" For a moment, Lucy was about to tell Patricia everything, the rules she had to follow, the phone that monitored her, the icy stares when something wasn't the way Javier wanted it. But then she remembered the app on her cell phone and realized that Javier would know exactly what time Patricia had arrived and how long she had stayed. His eyes fixed on Patricia, who had gotten up from the couch. "And what is she doing here?" "She's my sister Patricia, remember? She came from Austin to visit us." Javier looked Patricia up and down, lingering on the yellow dress that revealed her arms. "Ah, yes, your sister." His voice sounded cold. "And you didn't tell me she was coming?" "I didn't know. It was a surprise." "Patricia," said Javier, approaching her slowly. "It's so good to see you. But you know Lucy doesn't like visitors arriving unannounced, right? She gets very nervous when the house isn't perfect for entertaining." Patricia looked at her sister in confusion. Lucy had never been like that. In fact, people always came to her parents' house unannounced, and she loved it. "No problem," Patricia replied. "I just came to drop off this fruit and say hello for a little while." "How thoughtful," said Javier, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. "Right, my love. Your sister is always so thoughtful." There was something in Javier's tone that made Patricia feel uncomfortable. She picked up her bag and headed for the door. "Well, I'm leaving now. I have to catch the bus back to Austin." "Aren't you staying for dinner?" asked Lucy, although inside she was begging Patricia to leave before Javier said anything else. No, another day would be better." Patricia hugged her sister and whispered in her ear, "We'll talk on the phone later." "Yes." When Patricia left, Javier locked the door and stood there, staring at Lucy. "Why didn't you tell me your sister was coming?" "I'm telling you, I didn't know. It was a surprise." "A surprise? Or did you plan for her to come when I wasn't here?" "How could I plan that, Javier? You know where I am all the time." "Exactly. I know where you are, but I don't know what you're thinking." He approached her, and Lucy could smell the sweat and dust from the mine on his clothes. "What were you talking about before I arrived?" "Nothing special. She told me about her work." "You said something about us." "Like what?" "Don't play dumb, Lucy. You told her things about our marriage. They complained about me." The way Javier looked at her made Lucy feel like she was being interrogated by the police. "No, Javier. We just talked about normal things." because if I find out that you're gossiping about me and your family, I'm not telling you anything. You better not, she said, heading for the kitchen. And the next time your sister wants to come over, let me know first. I don't like people coming to my house without me knowing about it. That night, while she was making dinner, Lucy realized that he had stopped referring to the house as our house. In his mind, it was now Javier's house, Javier's territory, a place where she was just a guest who had to follow rules that changed without warning. When the phone rang after dinner, Javier answered before she could move. Hello. Ah, Patricia. Yes, he's here. He handed the phone to Lucy, but stood next to her listening to every word. How are you, sister? Lucy said, trying to sound normal. Lucy, are you okay? You seemed very strange this afternoon. Yes, I'm fine, just tired. And Javier? Is he always this serious? Lucy looked at her husband, who had his arms crossed and was looking at her with that expression she knew so well. Javier, it's fine. He just had a difficult day at work. Well, if you need anything or want to talk. Yes, of course. I'll call you later. But we're just getting started talking, and it's already late, Patricia. I have a lot to do tomorrow. When she hung up, Javier nodded approvingly. Good. I don't like you having long conversations on the phone. It's a waste of time, and it's expensive. That night, Lucy lay awake thinking about Patricia's worried face. Her sister had noticed something, but what could she say? That her husband controlled her, but had never hit her. That she felt like a prisoner in her own home, but technically, she couldn't complain about anything. Oh well, she told herself, repeating the words her mother-in-law always used. That's how marriage is. But deep down in her heart, something told her that marriage shouldn't feel like walking through a minefield. Autumn arrived, painting the cup. Javier appeared in the kitchen as if he had been waiting for something to go wrong. What happened now? I dropped the glass. Sorry, I'll pick it up. How could you drop it? That glass was from the good china my godmother gave me. It was an accident, Javier. It slipped out of my hands. Lucy continued picking up the pieces, but the blood from her cut finger made them slip through her fingers. Javier came over and saw the red drops staining the floor she had mopped that very morning. No, now you're going to stain the whole floor. I know, but first let me pick up the glass and then I'll clean up the blood. You always do everything wrong, Javier shouted, and before Lucy could react, he pushed her with both hands on her shoulders. The push wasn't that hard, but Lucy wasn't expecting it. She lost her balance and fell backward, stepping on more pieces of glass with her bare feet. The pain was immediate and sharp. Javier, she cried, now with tears in her eyes. I hurt my feet. As soon as he saw the blood on the floor and realized what he had done, Javier changed completely. His angry face turned to horror, and he crouched down next to her. Oh, my love, forgive me. I didn't mean to. I'm very stressed out with work. And when I saw the mess, I shouldn't have pushed you. He carried her to the living room couch and carefully examined her feet. The cuts weren't deep, but they hurt. He cleaned the wounds with hydrogen peroxide and bandaged them with a gentleness that contrasted sharply with the violence of just a few minutes earlier. Will you forgive me? He asked as he kissed her forehead. I swear it won't happen again. They told us at the mine that they're going to cut back on staff, and I'm afraid of losing my job, but that's no excuse for treating you badly. Lucy nodded, because what else could she do? Javier seemed genuinely remorseful, and besides, she knew how much pressure there was at the mine. Many men in the neighborhood had lost their jobs that year. It's okay, she murmured. It was just an accident. I promise I'll control my temper. You're not to blame for my problems. The next day, Javier came home from work with a bouquet of red roses and a box of chocolates. He had also bought a new set of glasses, prettier than the ones that had been broken. For my princess, he said, kissing her with the tenderness that had made her fall in love with him in the first place, and to replace what was broken yesterday. Over the next few weeks, Javier was the most attentive husband in the world. He made her chamomile tea when she felt sick to her stomach, massaged her feet when she came home tired from the market, and even helped her wash the dishes after dinner. But Lucy had begun to sleep with a strange feeling in her chest. It wasn't exactly fear, but it wasn't peace of mind either. It was as if she were waiting for something bad to happen, without knowing exactly what. And she was right. The second time was worse. One Saturday in November, Lucy decided to reorganize the kitchen, Javier had gone out to buy beer to watch the soccer game with his friends, and she thought it was a good time to do some deep cleaning. She found cans of chili peppers that had expired months ago, packets of bouillon that were no longer usable, and jars of spices that had lost their color. When Javier returned with his friends Raul and Memo, they found the kitchen in complete disarray. Lucy had everything scattered on the table while she cleaned the shelves. "What is this mess?" Javier asked in front of his friends. "I'm cleaning up for dinner, my love. There were a lot of expired items, and you couldn't wait until I wasn't here with visitors." Raul and Memo looked at each other uncomfortably. They had known Javier since high school and had never seen him speak to a woman like that. "I'm sorry, I didn't think it would bother you. I'll finish up and clean everything up." "No, I'm done. Clean it up right now. My friends are going to think I live in a pigsty." "Javier," Raul intervened. "No problem, brother. We can go to my house if you want." "No, you're hurting me with your bullshit." The silence in the kitchen became thick. Raul and Memo didn't know what to do. Lucy had tears in her eyes, but she wasn't crying, as if she had learned to contain her pain. "You know what?" said Memo. "We'd better go. We'll watch the game at my place." "No, don't leave because of her," Javier replied. But his friends were already walking toward the door. "We'll talk later, Javier," Raul said before leaving. When they were alone, Javier let go of Lucy's arm and ran his hands through his hair. "Look what you did. Now my friends are going to think I'm an asshole. I didn't do anything wrong, Javier. I was just cleaning." "Nothing wrong. You made me look ridiculous in front of my friends. And all for what? For cleaning when you shouldn't have." That night, Lucy lay awake looking at the purple marks Javier had left on her arm. There were 5 small circles, one for each finger, like a bracelet made of pain. The next morning, Javier acted as if nothing had happened. He made her coffee, kissed her on the cheek, and went to work whistling. But Lucy knew that something had changed forever. It was no longer just control, no longer just shouting. Now it was also hands that hurt. And deep in her heart, a little voice began to whisper something that filled her with terror. "This is going to get worse." The following months were like living on an emotional roller coaster that never stopped. After the incident with her friends, Javier entered a phase of such intense remorse that Lucy almost came to believe that perhaps she had exaggerated things in her mind. Her husband would get up before her to make her breakfast. He came home from work with small gifts and had even started helping her with the housework, without her asking. "My love," he would say, as he hugged her around the waist in the kitchen. "I know I've been very hard on you lately. Work has me under a lot of pressure, but that's no excuse. You are the most important thing in my life." During those weeks of calm, Lucy remembered why she had fallen in love with Javier. He was once again the man who made her laugh with his silly jokes, who sang Vicente Fernandez songs to her while she cooked, who hugged her at night when she had nightmares. It was as if the shoving, the shouting, and the marks on her arms had been nightmares she had invented. But the nightmares returned. In January, when they had been married for 2 years, Javier decided it was time to start a family. One night after dinner, he sat down on the living room couch and called her with that voice Lucy had learned to fear, because it meant he had made an important decision. "Come here, my love. I want to talk to you about something." Lucy dried her hands on her apron and sat down next to him, trying to guess from his expression what kind of conversation they were going to have. "Do you remember what we talked about before we got married? About having children?" "Yes. Of course, we've been married for 2 years now, and I think it's time. My mom has already asked me 3 times this week when I'm going to give her grandchildren." Lucy felt something like panic fluttering in her stomach. For the past few months, she had been secretly taking birth control pills. She bought them at a pharmacy downtown, far from her neighborhood, and hid them in a vitamin bottle she kept at the back of the medicine cabinet. "Don't you think we should wait a little longer?" she suggested carefully. "Maybe when things at the mine are more stable. Things at the mine will never be stable. But a child will bring us closer together. You'll be happier. You'll have something to occupy your time." "Javier, I'm happy, and I have plenty of things to occupy my time." "Like what?" "Cleaning the house, going to the market. Those aren't things that make you truly happy. A woman needs to be a mother to be complete." The way she said it, as if it were an absolute truth that brooked no discussion, made Lucy feel as if she were arguing with a wall. "But maybe we could wait until we have more money saved up, or until Lucy interrupted Javier, and her voice changed tone. Lucy put her hand to her cheek, feeling her skin burn, and for a moment she couldn't process what had happened. Javier whispered, "You lied to me, and I'm going to hit you more if you keep lying to me." He bent down, grabbed her by the shoulders, and shook her with such force that Lucy's head moved like a broken doll's. "You're my wife. Any children you have will be my children, and you have no right to make that decision without consulting me. Let go of me. You're hurting me. I'm going to hurt you more if you don't stop being so selfish." He threw her against the living room wall, and Lucy felt her back crash into the picture of the Virgin of Guadalupe that hung there. The frame fell and shattered on the floor. "Look what you did!" Javier shouted. "Now you've broken the image of the Virgin Mary because of you." Lucy lay on the floor crying and shaking while Javier paced the living room like a caged lion. "Starting tomorrow," he said without looking at her, "you're not taking any more pills. And if I find out that you're still buying that crap behind my back, you're going to be in big trouble." That night, Lucy slept on the couch in the living room because she didn't want to be in the same bed as Javier. Her body ached in places she didn't even know could hurt. But what hurt the most was realizing that her husband was capable of hitting her for decisions that affected her own body. The next morning, Javier acted as if nothing had happened. He made her coffee, kissed her on the forehead, avoiding the cheek where the slap had left a mark, and left her extra money for the market. "Buy some meat to make beef broth," he said before leaving. "You need to regain your strength." Over the next few months, Lucy's life became a nightmare from which she could not wake up. Javier controlled absolutely everything she ate. If you felt like you were with Lucia at this point, leave a like. It will help this story reach more people. He said that certain foods could affect her fertility. He took her to a doctor he trusted, an older man who barely looked at her when he examined her, and told her she was a very lucky woman to have a husband who cared so much about her reproductive health. "Many women don't understand that their main function is to bear children," the doctor told her while Javier nodded from his chair. "You seem very healthy. In a few months you should have good news." But the months passed, and Lucy did not get pregnant. With each period that came, Javier became more anxious, more controlling, more violent. If you felt like you were with Lucia at this point, leave a like. It will help this story reach more people. He blamed her for not eating well, for being stressed, for not relaxing enough. "Maybe it's because you don't really want to," he would say as he looked at her suspiciously. "Maybe deep down, you're still a selfish person who doesn't want to give me children." In July, after 6 months of trying unsuccessfully, Javier decided that the problem was that Lucy wasn't putting in enough effort. He began coming home at unpredictable times to check that she was doing everything correctly. If he found her sitting watching television, he accused her of wasting energy that she should be using to get pregnant. If he found her cleaning, he told her that the physical effort could be affecting her hormones. One afternoon in August, Lucy was watering the plants in the yard when she heard the front door open. It was too early for Javier to be home from work. It was barely 2 p.m. "Lucy, where are you?" "Here in the yard, my love." Javier appeared at the back door with an expression Lucy had never seen before. It wasn't anger. It wasn't frustration. It was something much colder and more calculated. "What are you doing?" "Watering the plants. It's very hot and they were wilting. And it didn't occur to you that carrying that heavy watering can might be bad for you?" Lucy looked at the plastic watering can, which weighed only a few pounds when full. She didn't dare get up because she knew Javier could come back at any moment to check that she had followed his orders. When he finally arrived at 6 p.m., Javier checked the entire house to make sure she hadn't done anything dangerous while he was away. He checked that the dishes were just as dirty as when he had left, that the beds were not made, that the floor had not been swept. "Very good," he said to her, as if she were a child who had obeyed. "That's the way I like it. Now you can start making dinner." That night, as she prepared quesadillas for dinner, Lucy looked at her hands and realized they were shaking, not from cold, not from fatigue, but from something she had never felt before in her life. Pure fear. Fear of her own husband, fear of her own home, fear of her own life, and worst of all, she no longer knew how to get out of there. The November of her 3rd year of marriage arrived with a coldness that penetrated to her bones. But for Lucy, The cold was no longer just the weather. She had been trying to get pregnant for 14 months without success. And with each passing month, Javier became more obsessive, more controlling, more violent. He no longer only hit her when he was angry. Now he also hit her when she didn't show enough enthusiasm for having children. "It seems you don't care about giving me a family," he would say, as he shook her by the shoulders. "It seems you prefer to remain a selfish woman who only thinks of herself." Lucy had stopped explaining to him that perhaps the problem wasn't hers. She had stopped suggesting that they go to the doctor together to get tested. She had stopped talking in general because anything she said could be interpreted as provocation. But deep down in her heart, she had begun to rejoice that she was not pregnant. The idea of bringing a baby into that environment of terror and violence filled her with an anguish she could not express in words. How could she take care of a child when she herself needed someone to take care of her? How could she protect a baby when she couldn't protect herself? One day, while she was at the market buying ingredients to make pozole, she ran into Doña Remedios, the woman who sold vegetables and had always been kind to her. "Oh, girl," Doña Remedios said as she weighed the tomatoes, "you look very thin. Are you eating well?" "Yes, Doña Remedios. It's just that I've been a little sick to my stomach. Could it be that you have a little baby on the way?" she asked with a mischievous smile. Lucy felt her throat close up. "No, I don't think so." "Well, when it happens, let me know. I've helped bring many children into the world in this neighborhood." When Lucy got home, Javier was already there, sitting at the kitchen table with a look on his face that did not bode well. "Why did you take so long?" "I didn't take long, my love. I just went to the market, as usual. I went to look for you an hour ago, and you weren't at Doña Remedios' stall." Lucy felt her blood run cold. Javier had gone to look for her at the market. He had been watching her. "I also went to Don Roberto's butcher shop, and there was a long line just at the butcher shop." "Yes. Didn't you talk to anyone else?" The way he asked the question made Lucy realize that he already knew the answer. Someone had told him that she had been talking to Doña Remedios. "Well, yes. Doña Remedios asked me how I was." "And what did you tell her?" "Nothing special. Just that I'd been a little sick to my stomach." Javier rose slowly from his chair, like a cat preparing to pounce on its prey. "You told her you'd been sick to your stomach, yes, and it didn't occur to you that that would make her think you're pregnant." "I didn't think about that, Javier." "Of course you didn't. You never think. Now the whole neighborhood is going to be asking when we're going to have the baby, and when they realize you're not pregnant, they're going to start whispering that there's something wrong with you. No one is going to gossip." "Yes, they are. They're going to say, you're a woman who can't give her husband children. They're going to say, I'm a man." Lucy screamed in pain, feeling as if strands of her hair were being torn from her scalp. "It hurts. It hurts me too. It hurts me to be married to a useless woman who can't do the most basic things expected of her." He threw her against the kitchen wall, and Lucy felt her back crash into the cupboard where they kept the dishes. Several glasses fell and shattered on the floor. "Now you've broken the dishes. Everything you touch, you destroy." Lucy lay on the floor crying and shaking, while Javier continued to yell horrible things at her. He told her she was useless, that she was a defective woman, that her mother was right when she said she shouldn't have married someone from such a poor family. "My mother warned me," he shouted as he paced back and forth. "She told me that women like you don't know how to be good wives. But I didn't listen to her, because I thought you were different." When he finally got tired of yelling, Javier stormed out of the house, slamming the door so hard that all the windows rattled. Lucy was left alone in the kitchen, surrounded by broken glass and with pain in her face that prevented her from opening her left eye. She managed to make her way to the bathroom and look in the mirror. Her reflection scared her so much that she took a step back. Her entire left cheek was swollen and bruised, her lip was split, and she had a cut on her forehead where she had hit the furniture. "What's happening to me?" she asked aloud, but her own voice sounded strange, distorted by the swelling. Javier returned after midnight, drunk and smelling of beer and cigarettes. Lucy pretended to be asleep when he got into bed, but she could feel him looking at her in the dark. Javier whispered, "Are you awake?" She didn't answer. "I know you're awake. Tomorrow we're going to the doctor. We're going to run some tests to see what's wrong with you." Lucy continued to pretend to be asleep, but inside, she felt like she was going to throw up. And if it turns out that you do have something wrong with you, we're going to have to look for other options." The way he said "other options" made Lucy feel a new kind of fear, different from anything she had ever felt before. The next day, Javier didn't go to work. Instead, he took her to a doctor's office in downtown Texas with a doctor Lucy had never seen before. The man examined her while Javier waited in the office as if he had the right to be present during her medical consultation. "How long have you had those marks?" the doctor asked her quietly when he saw the bruises on her arms. Lucy looked over at where Javier was sitting and saw that he was watching her with that look she knew all too well. "I fell down the stairs," she lied. The doctor looked at her for a long moment, as if he wanted to say something else, but finally just nodded and continued with the examination. The results came back a week later. Lucy was perfectly healthy. There was no medical reason why she couldn't get pregnant. "Then the problem must be stress," Javier concluded when the doctor explained the results to them. "She's very stressed, and that's why her body isn't functioning properly." "And what do you recommend, doctor?" Lucy asked, with a small hope that perhaps the doctor would tell Javier to leave her alone. "Well, stress can indeed affect fertility. My recommendation is that you try to relax more. Do activities that calm you down." "Like what activities?" Javier asked. "You can do yoga, meditation, walk in the park, anything that helps you be calmer." When they left the office, Javier was in a very good mood. "See, now we know what the problem is. You're very stressed, but we're going to fix that." Lucy didn't dare ask him how he planned to fix it, but that night she found out. "Starting tomorrow," he told her over dinner, "you're going to stay home and not do anything stressful. No cleaning, no going to the market, no talking on the phone with your family." "What do you mean, no talking to my family?" "Talking to your family makes you nervous. You always end up crying when you talk to your sister." "I don't end up crying." "Yes, you do. And besides, it's time you understood that I am your family. You don't need to talk to people outside the home." He no longer brought her flowers, no longer cried and begged for forgiveness, no longer promised it would never happen again. Now, after hitting her, he would simply say, "Let's see if this teaches you not to provoke me." But for their anniversary, he decided to throw a big party. He invited his parents, his older sister Carmen, and her husband, Father Miguel from the parish of San Cristobal, and even some neighbors from the neighborhood. Lucy spent a whole week preparing everything. Red pozole with all the trimmings, tres leches cake made from scratch, hibiscus tea, beer, and tequila for the men. "I want everything to be perfect," Javier told her as he checked on the preparations. "It's our 10th anniversary. People will be watching. Everything is ready, my love. Don't worry. You better be. Because if something goes wrong, if you do something stupid that makes me look bad in front of my family." He didn't finish the threat, but Lucy understood the message perfectly. On the day of the celebration, Lucy got up at 5 a.m. to finish the last details. She had put on her navy blue dress, the only one that still fit her after losing so much weight in recent years. She carefully applied makeup to cover the yellowish marks still visible on her neck, where Javier had grabbed her 3 days earlier during an argument about food. The guests began to arrive at 6 p.m. Doña Carmen, Javier's mother, arrived with a bouquet of flowers and many compliments for the decoration of the house. "Oh, Lucy, everything is so beautiful. You can see that you are a very dedicated wife." Javier's father, Don Roberto, settled into the living room with a beer and began to tell Father Miguel about the problems at the mine, about how young people today no longer wanted to work as they used to. Javier's sister Carmen arrived with her husband Eduardo and their 2 young children. Lucy greeted them with a smile she had become expert at faking, but inside she felt a pang of pain when she saw the children running around the house. In 10 years of marriage, she had never been able to give Javier children, and that was a wound that never healed. "When are you going to give us some nieces and nephews?" Carmen asked as they served the pozole. "When God wills it," Lucy replied automatically, repeating the phrase she had used for so many years that it no longer meant anything. "Oh, but it's been 10 years. Haven't you been to the doctor?" "Yes, we have. They say we're both fine. So maybe we just need to relax more. They say that when you stop pressuring yourself, it just happens." Lucy nodded and continued serving the food. but she could feel Javier's gaze on her from across the table. She knew that conversation was bothering him, that later everyone would leave, and he would blame her for allowing people to talk about the subject. During dinner, Don Roberto told stories about when Javier was a child. Father Miguel spoke about the importance of Christian marriage, and Doña Carmen asked Lucy about her recipes. Everything seemed normal, like any other family celebration. But then Carmen made a joke. "Hey, Javier," she said to her brother, as he poured himself his third beer. "I see why you don't want to have children with Lucy, who spoils you so much. Why would you want more babies to take care of?" Everyone laughed. It was an innocent joke, the kind of comment made at any family gathering. But Lucy saw Javier's face change, his jaw muscles tense, his eyes harden. "What did you say?" she asked her sister. "It was a joke, Javier. Don't take it seriously." "No, it wasn't a joke. You said Lucy spoils me. What did you mean by that?" The atmosphere at the table began to change. Eduardo, Carmen's husband, tried to smooth things over. "Javier, brother, Carmen was just joking. I know very well what my sister said." Lucy felt her blood run cold. She knew that voice. She knew that look. Javier was about to explode, and he was going to do it in front of his whole family. "Javier," Doña Carmen intervened. "Don't make a big deal out of a little joke." "A little joke. It's a little joke to say that my wife's—" "Javier," Doña Carmen shouted from the dining room. "What are you doing?" But he wasn't done. As Lucy stood there, dripping soda and with tears running down her cheeks, Javier continued to shout. "This is what happens when my wife doesn't know how to behave. This is what happens when she allows people to make fun of her husband." Father Miguel got up from the table and headed for the kitchen. "Javier, son, this is not right. Father, don't get involved. This is between my wife and me. A man should not treat his wife like this, Javier, no matter what happened." "Oh no. And how should I treat her when she disrespects me in front of my family?" Carmen also approached, her face pale with horror. "Javier, Lucy didn't disrespect you. I was the one who made the comment. She should have defended me. She should have shut you up, but she just sat there like an idiot." Don Roberto struggled to get up from his chair. He was an old man, but he still commanded respect. Don Roberto said in a voice Lucy had never heard before, "This ends right now. Dad, you don't understand. I understand perfectly well. And what I understand is that my son is behaving like an animal." The silence that followed was so thick that Lucy could hear the soda dripping from her dress onto the floor. All the guests were standing around the kitchen, watching the scene with a mixture of horror and embarrassment. Eduardo took Carmen by the arm. "We're leaving," he said. "Come on, kids." "Wait." Javier tried to stop them, but his voice no longer sounded threatening. It sounded desperate. "Don't leave because of her." But it was too late. One by one, all the guests began to gather their things and say goodbye with uncomfortable murmurs. Doña Carmen hugged Lucy before leaving. My daughter whispered in her ear, "If you need anything, anything at all, you know where I live." When Father Miguel said goodbye, he also whispered something to Lucy. "My child, this is not normal. This is not what God wants for a marriage." In less than an hour, the house was completely empty. Dirty dishes were scattered across the table. The tres leches cake was half-eaten, and Lucy was still standing in the kitchen, drenched in Coca-Cola and trembling with humiliation. Javier had locked himself in the bathroom after all the guests had left. Lucy could hear him breaking things, shouting, banging on the walls. That night, as she bathed to wash the sticky soda out of her hair, Lucy looked at herself in the bathroom mirror and finally admitted something she had been denying for years. Her marriage wasn't just bad, it was dangerous, and if she didn't do something soon, Javier was going to kill her. The days that followed the disaster of her anniversary were the quietest Lucy had experienced in 10 years of marriage. Javier didn't speak to her, he didn't yell at her, he didn't hit her, he simply ignored her, as if she were just another piece of furniture in the house. He got up, ate breakfast in silence, went to work, came home, ate dinner without looking at her, and went to sleep with his back to her. But Lucy knew that silence was more dangerous than all the shouting put together. It was like the still air before a hurricane. During those weeks of forced truce, something changed inside her. For the first time in years, her mind felt clear. as if the constant fear had been a fog that was finally lifting. She began to observe her life from the outside, as if she were watching a movie, and what she saw horrified her. She was a 33-year-old woman who weighed 15 pounds less than when she had gotten married. Her hands trembled constantly. She had permanent dark circles under her eyes. And when she looked in the mirror, she no longer recognized the person she had been. The Lucy who sold clothes at the Mariposa's boutique, who laughed with her friends, who dreamed of traveling and studying for a career, had completely disappeared. In her place was this frightened woman who tiptoed around her own house, who measured every word before speaking, who had learned to cover up her bruises with the same skill she had once used. Money she had hidden inside the soles of her old shoes. 5 pesos here, 10 pesos there. Every time Javier gave her money for groceries. As she packed, she thought of all the times she had fantasized about this moment, all the nights she had stayed awake, imagining what it would be like to wake up one morning and just leave. But every time she came close to making it real, fear paralyzed her. Where would she go? How would she survive? Who would believe her if she told them what was happening in her home? But now, with the suitcase half full on the bed, she realized that those questions no longer mattered. The only thing that mattered was getting out of there before Javier killed her. Because after the humiliation of the anniversary, after seeing the horror on her in-laws' faces, after hearing Father Miguel's words, Lucy knew that Javier would never forgive her for witnessing his loss of control. She called her neighbor, Doña Rosa, an elderly woman who lived 2 houses down and had always been kind to her. "Doña Rosa," she said when she answered the phone, "could you come over and help me with something? It's urgent." "Of course, dear. What do you need?" "I'd rather not say over the phone." "Can you come now?" 15 minutes later, Doña Rosa was standing at her door with a worried look on her face. "What's wrong, Lucy? You look very upset, Doña Rosa. I need you to help me get out of here. I need you to take me to the bus station." "Are you going somewhere?" "I'm leaving for good." Doña Rosa entered the house and saw the suitcase on the bed. She asked no questions, sought no explanations, simply nodded. "Javier knows you're leaving, doesn't he? And he can't find out." "I understand, my daughter. What time does he get home from work?" "Around 6. Then we have time. Let's go." As they walked to the bus stop with Doña Rosa carrying the suitcase so it wouldn't be so obvious, Lucy felt something she hadn't felt in years: hope. But when they reached the corner of her street, they saw Javier's car parked in front of the house. "He came back early," Lucy whispered, feeling her blood run cold. "What do you want to do?" Doña Rosa asked her. Lucy looked toward her house and saw Javier's silhouette moving behind the windows. He had probably already seen that her things were gone. He probably already knew that she had tried to leave. "I can't go back now," she said. "If I go back now, he'll kill me." "Then don't go back. We're leaving right now." But before they could move, Javier came out of the house, saw them from the doorway, and began walking toward them with quick, determined steps. Lucy shouted, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Doña Rosa stood in front of Lucy like a human shield. "Javier, calm down. Don't get involved, Doña Rosa. This is between my wife and me. Lucy, she's not your wife anymore," Doña Rosa said, with a firmness that surprised them both. "A wife is someone who stays out of love, not fear." Javier moved closer, and Lucy could see the fury burning in his eyes. "Lucy, go back inside right now." "No," Lucy said, surprised by her own voice. It was the first time in years that she had said no to him directly. "I'm not going back." "What do you mean?" "No. You're my wife. You can't leave without my permission." "I don't need your permission to leave my own life." Javier raised his fist, the same threatening gesture he had used so many times before. But this time, Lucy didn't flinch. She stood there, looking him in the eye. "Go ahead," she said. "Hit me here on the street where everyone can see." Javier looked around and realized that several neighbors had come out of their houses, drawn by the shouting. Doña Carmen was at her door with the phone in her hand. Don Sebastian had stopped watering his plants to watch the scene. The children on the corner had stopped playing soccer. "Don't even think about divorce," Javier shouted, raising his fist higher. But just then, a horn sounded behind him. He took his phone out of his pocket and dialed a number. "Police. I need to report domestic violence." While Ramon was talking to the police, Javier continued to shout threats, but he didn't come any closer. The presence of other men, of neighbors who continued to watch, of women who had come out of their homes to support Lucy, had disarmed him. When the patrol car arrived, Lucy told them everything, showed them the marks on her arms, told them about the years of beatings, control, and threats. The neighbors confirmed that they had heard screams coming from the house for years. Doña Rosa told them that she had seen Lucy with bruises on several occasions. "This is unfair," Javier shouted as the police handcuffed him. "She is my wife. I have the right to discipline her when she misbehaves." "You have no right to hurt anyone," one of the officers told him, "especially not a woman." As they took Javier away in the patrol car, he continued to shout from the car window, "This isn't over, Lucy. You're my wife. You're coming back with me." But Lucy was no longer listening. She was hugging her brother, crying for the first time in years, without fear of the consequences. "How did you know you had to come?" she asked him. "Patricia called me. She said she had a bad feeling after talking to you last week. She asked me to come see you. And where am I going to live now? With me until you decide what you want to do with your life." That night, Lucy slept on the sofa at Ramon's house in Austin. It was an uncomfortable sofa in a small house that smelled of paint and cement, but she felt safer than she had in 10 years. For the first time since her marriage, she fell asleep without fear of what might happen the next day. 3 days later, Javier sent her a letter from the municipal jail. It was a long letter, full of apologies, promises of change, and declarations of eternal love. He told her that he had spoken to Father Miguel, that he was going to go to therapy, that everything would be different if she came back. Lucy read the letter once and then burned it in the courtyard of Ramon's house. "Aren't you going to reply?" her brother asked her. "I already replied," said Lucy, watching the ashes fly away with the wind. "I replied by leaving." 6 months later, Lucy was living in a small apartment in Austin and working selling tamales at a market stall. It wasn't much, but it was hers. Her hands had stopped shaking. She had gained a few pounds, and when she looked in the mirror, she began to recognize traces of the woman she had been before. Javier continued to send letters for months. Then he started sending his mother, his sister, Father Miguel, anyone who could convince Lucy to come back. They all told her the same thing, that a Christian marriage was forever, that Javier had changed, that a good woman forgives and forgets. But every time someone said that to her, Lucy responded with the same phrase, "Don't even think I'm coming back." And every time she said it, she felt a little stronger. A year later, Lucy enrolled in night classes to finish the high school she had left unfinished when she got married. She wanted to study business administration, maybe open her own business someday. 2 years later, she met a man at school. His name was Miguel. He was a math teacher, and when he laughed, his eyes crinkled at the corners. The first time he reached out to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear, Lucy instinctively flinched. "Did I hurt you?" Miguel asked with genuine concern in his voice. "No," Lucy replied. "It's just that I'm still learning not to be afraid." "Take the time you need," Miguel told her. "I'll be here." And he kept his word. 5 years after leaving Texas, Lucy received one last letter from Javier. It was very short, and for the first time, he wasn't asking her to come back. It just said, "I'm going to marry another woman. I hope you'll be happy." Lucy folded the letter and